Hi, book club members. I'm Jen,
And I'm Carrie.
and this is Warhammer 40k Book Club, where we read from a crag. This is episode number 90, and our book is the Christmas special to Gobbo's Demise by Denny Flowers. We did not post questions on our website because, as with all of the Christmas books, this being the second one, we will just do more of a general talk, free format, wing it, if you will. We'll do it live like Bill O'Reilly. We encourage participations in our conversations via Twitter, YouTube, our site, or Encrypted Vox channel. Boiler warning, if you haven't yet read the book, definitely go check it out. You're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't. Let's dive in. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was fun.
It was super fun. Um, I hope this does continue into like a holiday tradition.
Hmm.
It is, it's just a silly, mindless kind of way to end the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I think the grots are maybe one of the more interesting factions of the orcs, to be totally. Or pieces, I should say, of the orcs. Just because of how much they actually do. And how much the orcs
Oh,
kind of can't function without them, as much as that would hurt, pain them to admit.
right. Um, yeah, they very much are like the equivalent of the Humies to the Space Marines, where they
I
clean
don't know.
their
I
armor,
like
they
the
clean
comparison
weapons.
they. I like the comparison they made about the ratlings to the
I
humans.
did like that too. When they're like, "Oh yeah, they're the snipers." Yeah, did it ever occur to you maybe what we would be able to do if we
Right.
had that type of power? It is one of those things that they're just a fun little faction. Um, I like that our main character, Red Snot, obviously grows. And on that day, he grew 3 sizes. I like that he grows as a person, but he still's a grot, right? He's
Hmm.
still. I do like that they they want better for themselves. Obviously, they want to get out of that church. They want to survive, but they also just have their own natural tendencies, like backstabbing and looting and
Right.
finding funny stuff. And yeah, they're. I like that. Despite the fact that they have these desires, they're still just what they are, which is weird little greenskins.
They're really kind of some of the most humorous parts, I think, of the orcs to begin with. It's just kind of how they do. Like, I love the fact that Red Snot was the only one who could speak Gothic at all, and how he really kind of worked that into his favor most of the time.
I did like with him speaking with the priest. I thought that was very humorous.
Right.
Um, and of course the priest, oh, you're a ratling.
Yes.
Sure. Like, I like that that was his answer. Like the priest would say these things, and he'd be like, "Sure." I don't know how to respond to any of this stuff.
Well, I mean,
Um,
like, even at the end, when the commissar fell and, ended up being impaled on the Sanguinius' spear, and they're like, well, did he do that on purpose? Because we see a lot of them, they like sticking each other on spikes to begin with. Yeah, you know what? With these guys, very possible.
very possible. I do like their constant ruminations on Hume culture, especially when they're in the church. And yeah, I did like the gods are what you're supposed to aspire to, not
Oh
what
my
you're
God, that's
supposed
probably
to
one of my favorite
impress.
lines. Yeah, was that whole thing about because they were like, oh, because they were saying to do that to impress, and they're like, Gork and Mork would never ask anybody else to do that. They do that themselves. Like, you know what? That I mean,
Kind of true, right? But then
yeah,
again, that's the one of the things of the chaos gods. Um, I do like that a Humie's a Humie's a Humie a Humie. Like they kind of recognize that these ones are a little pointier than the other ones, but by and large,
right,
it's the same thing.
right,
Like they don't really like they kind of recognize that there's a delineation there, but not really. Not like we would, obviously. So the book is divided essentially into two parts. There's the Grots story and then the Traders story. So let's start with the Grots. What parts stood out to you?
I mean, plenty of stuff.
Oh my god, I know.
Like, stood out. Let's see, what did I? Oh, like I did laugh when Red Snot was talking to the priest, and he was trying to look for some weapons, and he was like, pointing to the statue, like, what is that? He's like talking about wonderful Sanguinius and stuff. He's like, well, shame Sanguinius didn't have a gun. Like, just, pearl clutching that was for the priest. And I liked his interaction with the commissar when he speaks, Gothic to the commissar, and the commissar's like, did you just dare debase our language with your tongue? He's like, yeah, you dare bleeding on my floor? Like, it was like nice in here. I had some shinies and he had a pet human.
I thought that was absolutely great. I loved the whole running gag with I'm gonna butcher the consonants in between his name. Miggis.
Oh yeah.
Running through the pipe work and him like knocking on the pipes and him popping out constantly. I thought that was absolutely delightful. Miggis. I thought that was a really fun little running gag that guy's constantly running around trying to figure stuff out. The whole unleashing the Prometheum.
Honestly, like Miggis, like this whole thing, like when Killiskin is killed in the very beginning, and he's just like, is the boss okay? It takes him a long time to register that he's dead.
Really good natured for a grot.
Yeah, well, I mean, he believes in Gobbo,
which made it very, very sweet when Gobbo does show up.
Right.
Because and he accepts it unquestioningly.
Oh, right.
Oh, yep, there's Gobbo.
It kind of made me think of like, the animated one that Tom Hanks did of Polar Express, where it's just like, I've always believed, little kids there seeing Santa for the first time. Like, I've always believed, like, totally like how he was.
Never seen that one.
So it's cute. It's cute.
They I do like that concept though. Like, I believe, and there he shows up, and it's just it's sweet for a book about orcs, more or less. Type of work. It's just a nice little sweet note that you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I also like Gobbo himself.
Mm-hmm.
Gobbo occupies such a strange place because on one hand, he's this revolutionary who is there to save them and just show them that, life can be better. We could do other things. He has all this philosophizing, right? And yet, he's still very rooted in orc culture. He's still a little treacherous. He knows not to trust Red Snot.
Right.
And he's violent.
Well, that, and if for a guy who's just like, we don't need any bosses, yet he's still ordering everybody around. And when he gets pointed out, he's like, well, do you have a better idea? He kind of challenges it back, because if there was a better idea, oh, okay, we'll do that instead. But but at the same time, like, yes, we want something better, but they still know that the grots need a hierarchy. It's just how it is.
Ingrained in them. And that's also kind of fun to see that on one hand, you feel kind of bad for them because of how the orcs treat them. And yet, when given an opportunity to be orcless, they still are kind of like, oh, like I like when he's ruminating and he's like, yeah, at least threats of violence make sense. Like, really even do something without threats of violence? Like, come on. Like, the order to the world, right?
Right. It's kind of a fun parallel, though, between them and, the traitor humans, though, with the threats of violence. That's just how you get things done, right?
Well, so that's exactly where I was going with that. The traitor humans were surprisingly fun, too. Like, I love how the commissar basically is like, he likes not being part of the Imperium anymore, but he does not like having the control and the sense of purpose that the Imperium has. Like, when he's constantly just like, what am I supposed to do with these people? What am I supposed to do with this?
Right.
Like actual soldiers, I love when he turns to the one guardsman and he's like, at your feet. And he's like, I never served, sir. Like, just hard habits to break, I guess.
Well, I guess he also just figured that, we're here for the cause, so people are actually going to listen to me. Yeah, no, you don't have soldiers, mate. You have cultists.
You have people who drank the Kool-Aid, maybe literally.
You have you literally have cannon fodder, is what you have.
Yeah. You have people who are willing to die for the dark gods, and that's about it. And as we learned with Uppio and the rest of them, aren't they really? Like, I love how he's just like, yeah, let's go get that. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna hang back, and you know what? Maybe I could just run away. Like, maybe I could just run away, and then who's to say what happened after all the bullets fall, right? I come out, and maybe I even get branded a hero of the Imperium. Like, again, we see so many books where the downtrodden and the lower stratas of Imperial society turn to gene stealers. They turn to chaos cults, right? Like,
because of the promise of a better life, and then it's not that much of a better life.
And then you find out that it's just the same thing. It's just wearing a different dress. Like, I felt really bad for them, but I also felt that was really, this is one of the very few books where it's mostly played for laughs. Like, look how incompetent these friggin' cultists are.
Well, that also cracked me up every single time Uppio would look over and someone else had, I don't know, an extra mouth or something. He's like, someone else has got a blessing from the gods.
Well, I loved the ones with the fingers on the eyebrows, and he's like, stop making hand gestures at me. Well, I don't control them. Oh man, it's like twice blessed by the gods. And I did love his little rumination when he was just like, look, it's actually not that bad of a life. Like, we get to have you get to have food. There's still some people yelling at you, but you get to do all these things. I mean, sometimes tentacles appear, but whatever. I did like that. Like, chaos problems, right?
Right.
I don't know why, you guys, but the image of the Chaos Star that kept drooping, I don't know why that kept cracking me up. I think because it's Christmas, I kept imagining the Charlie Brown Christmas tree version of the Chaos Star.
Actually, what made me giggle, and I couldn't stop giggling, was he talked about how he didn't have enough thigh bones and thigh ligaments until a certain cultist was volunteered to give his. I'm like, oh. Yeah.
So along those lines, I really liked the scene where he's when they're trying to storm the church and he's counting heads and he's like, oh, because after that big fireball comes out and he's like, I guess I probably could have waited to do the effigy because we're going to have lots of material now. I could have just waited. God, these are the thoughts that go through your head. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer group of boys. Lorgar.
All right. No, the true sons of Lorgar.
The true sons of... I did like when he's like, sons of Lorgar! True sons! Oh, right. It reminds me of that scene in Life of Brian. Are you the Judeans' People's Front? Or the People's Front of Judea? Underrated masterpiece of theirs. It just reminded me of that. I found that particularly humorous. So what did you... It's Grots versus Chaos. Was this the battle we needed in life?
I mean, it just seems like they both were out for a good crumpin', so worked out for everybody, right?
I have to kind of agree. At first, I feel like we always see Grots versus Humies, Grots versus Orcs. The last one was mostly just... I mean, there were some humans involved in there, but a lot of it was the inner power struggles between the Grots and the Orcs, right, and having to deal with the humans a little bit. This was straight up Grots versus Humies. And not something I knew I needed in my life, but I did like the idea that just as frustrating as they are for us, they're just as frustrating for Chaos too.
I mean, really, I could see this whole thing play. This has got to be a comedy that was written somewhere about the siege, just trying to climb the walls, and it just fails because it was, Yeah, I mean, aside from, yes, as you can see with underneath Jen, Home Alone, yes, there was a lot of those wonderful Home Alone pieces. Just, I feel like I've seen a movie where they were trying to get over a wall. Either people were kicking the ladders off, or it's just, I don't know. I could even be thinking of Monty Python and the Holy Grail with them trying to scale the wall. I have no idea, but this is, for whatever reason, the scaling the walls and the gags that go along with that, like, never get old to me.
I will, like, Home Alone. So one of my favorite gags about Home Alone ever was in Dogma, when the muse, Salma Hayek, is talking, and she's like, I was responsible for 4 of the 5 top grossing films of all time. And she's like, the little boy at home, somebody sold their soul to Satan for that one.
Right.
Thought that was hilarious. And I mean, obviously, as an adult, like, I loved Home Alone as a kid, but as an adult, I'm like, meh. But reading this book, I was just giggling because the whole idea of, like, the slicked stairs and then pouring that wax on top of them, and, like, they just keep coming.
Well, honestly, because one of the things, like, I see, like, a lot of adults do is they'll analyze Home Alone as adults, which especially adults of today, because they're like, he would have, realistically, like, Kevin McAllister would have killed them. I mean,
yeah,
the paint can for starters, the iron, I mean, all of that stuff, but it's a gag, right? It's a slapstick gag. So you can't really apply that. And this to me was like, if Home Alone was real, this is what it would be like.
So I think if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know that I have a thing about foot injuries. So, like, whenever they describe people stepping on glass and stuff, that whole scene when they take off their boots and then they start stepping on the glass and then they reach onto the handrail and they catch the glass.
No.
I actually struggled with that a little bit. So I was like, I can feel this the whole time. I can feel this. I can think about this and I can imagine it and I can feel it, and I ain't liking it. I mean, I liked it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, there was this one video game. Gosh, suddenly racking my brain, can't even think what it was called, but it was the one with the origami killer.
Oh, Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain. Because there was one thing that you had to do where you had to crawl on your arms and your knees, like your forearms and your knees, through broken glass. And that whole part just, it bothered the hell. I mean, just, yeah, and then he's trying to get the glass out of his feet. There's like that scene even in Die Hard when Bruce Willis is trying to get the glass out of his feet. That is just, it's just awful.
It is. I did like in this book, though, as you said, it is very much like Home Alone. So a lot of times in movies, especially action movies, looking straight at you, Tom Cruise, glass is not hazardous unless you have to step on it. Then it's hazardous. But, like, if glass gets broken on you or you break through glass, nothing happens to you, right? It's just like an irritation. I did like when they started chucking the giant shards of glass down at them. And I was like, that's going to kill some. Oh, yep. No, right there. It killed some.
Well, it was actually, I don't remember if it was seeing the movie Ghost or if it was seeing The Hand That Rocks the Cradle that made me realize how dangerous glass can be. It was one of those two. I can't tell you which one it was that made me realize that glass could be really, really dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Because like you were saying, there's so many action movies where, they just dive through windows, right?
And it just crumples and crumbles, and they're like, oh, ha.
And they just like brush themselves off and just get up and go. It's like, no, if you did that, like your fingers would be so cut up.
Can't think of what movie it is. I think it's one of the Resident Evil movies, because I think it's Mila Jovovich doing it. She's laying on the ground, and like she's laying on the ground like on her side, and like this glass breaks above her, and the glass rains down, so she curls up into a ball. So of course it doesn't hurt her because she was curled up into a ball. Anyways,
even though her neck is
really
totally exposed.
Huh?
Her neck is like totally exposed, but
like your whole, like, you would be so cut up. Then I was reading this and I was like, you know what? That's the benefit of Warhammer 40k, is the violence is part of the fun. Like, of course this is gonna kill somebody, because the grots will find that hilarious.
Yeah.
I loved how much they talked about them just like screeching laughing.
Just like every like even like Red's not talk about how he's like he really wished he had time to laugh at this a little bit more. He had to go. It's
amazing. And again, I'm not a big slapstick humor person. But this was slapstick done pretty well.
right.
With physical humor, with him plucking the guy's eyeball out, with him like when they're up top and the commissar's trying to get through to that bell tower, and they're just like poking stuff at him and then finally shooting him. But it was slapstick done very fun. And I love that all of this fits. It just fits within the ethos. Like, well, we
I'm
have
like,
this
on the one hand it's slapstick, on the other hand this is like totally part of the orcs.
Yeah. Like the fact that they basically have, would it be Che Claus or Santa Guevara? Because he's like their communist revolutionary Santa Claus. I'm gonna go with Santa Guevara. There. They basically have this, and it makes sense. Every part of it makes sense within the lore. Like, it's not them just shoehorning in a Christmas reference. Like, it works. It totally does. And I can just imagine eventually when the loyalists show up to like reclaim this desert world, just like walking into that church, like, what happened? What? I don't understand. I did love with him puzzling over Sanguinius when he's like, never seen a human with wings. Is that what they aspire to? Like, none of this makes sense. He's like, it's just a big muty humie.
Yeah. He's like, and he's really not that attractive, which, made me laugh.
That was when I did a little bit of a pearl grasp. I was like, don't you talk shit about my flawless hawk boy.
I was like, that's the fabulous hawk boy. You can't talk about him that way.
You can't talk like that about Sanguinius.
Well, wasn't this actually supposed to be the Sanguinala celebration? Didn't actually mention that? Yeah. So there was your Christmas reference.
And it makes sense. I did find
Sanguinala did die for all of our sins. Sanguinala.
He did.
Sanguinius.
He did. I did find the chaos cultist stuff very interesting, and I know you and I were talking kind of before the podcast about how interesting it is that the grass is not greener over there. Again, like, I found some of their revelations. Some of them were funny, and some of them were just sad. Like, I felt so bad for so many of these these people who are mutating, especially Gristle. And, like, all the eyeballs and the mouths and the tongues, and he's like, he was just a guy.
Right.
Like, he was just a guy before chaos came. Just like a scrawny little dude.
Who suddenly started wanting to eat raw meat, and then...
Yeah.
It's like, the Imperium may not be great, but I'm too vain for that.
I actually kind of liked how it's just a nice little subtle reminder that is the Imperium this evil fascist machine that just, again, it's the sausage factory, right? Pigs go in, sausage comes out. Oh my god, yes. Yes, it is. But the alternative is the same thing.
Right.
But with mutations. Because, I mean, that guy Gristle's not even Gristle.
No. He
died.
Oh, yeah. He's now a demon host or a demon something.
Oh, my God, yes. So, like, again, is it horrible? Yes. But the other option...
But it was funny when he ripped that guy off of the door and then beat the door down with his body.
I thought that was just funny.
Yeah.
Again, it takes a lot because, again, the Warhammer 40k universe, that's one of the reasons that Caiaphas Cain walks such a very delicate line, is that the Warhammer 40k universe is dark and horrible and awful. It takes some skill to make that hilarious and play it for laughs. And him bludgeoning that door, and then actually kind of the commissar too when he's going through like power fisting everybody,
right?
Because he's just so angry. It's like, dude, you were just complaining how you don't have any troops. Like, you were just complaining about this.
Well, it's almost like he has like the gauntlet of Thanos. If you want something done, just do it yourself. It's just
Do it yourself.
Yeah, just power fisting through everybody. Oh my god.
Exactly. No, I thought that was fun. Did you see like, C is not the right answer because I think we kind of knew, but did it make sense that Red Snot becomes the Red Gobbo at the end?
Well, yes, because he's the thinker. He's the one who actually tried to know Hume language, for starters.
And recognized that sawdust was probably a bad idea.
That was funny. He's like, y'all are going to light up sawdust? Oh, can you guys just go tell him that you're going to do that? I'll go get him for you.
I actually liked when they were like, yeah, we have sand, but it smells like old trees. Like sawdust?
Y'all are going to light some sawdust? Like, yeah, you can't take our idea. Oh, no, I don't.
Oh, I want your idea.
Yeah, I want your idea.
That did crack me up too. I like the idea that the Red Gobbo is just kind of an idea, right? It's a kind of a person. The person, as you said earlier, like it's the Dread Pirate
Roberts. Yep.
What matters is the name and the coat and the goggles
and the hat.
The gun's nice too. I did like when he hands the hat over and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's lined." You shouldn't have to worry too much about bullets anymore. I did like that. I liked at the end there was a nice payoff with your voice sounds weird. Then he tries to drop it lower, but he's like,
right. He's like what? You think I'm Red Snot? Like I know he was a popular git. Just that cracked me up.
Oh my god, he was very popular, had great ideas, but no, he's dead. And all you need is little Migas there to be like, yeah.
This all makes sense.
All makes sense to me. It was just, I mean, it's just a
and of course, it came full circle at the end when he shot that one orc and was like, oh, that's what happened to Killiskin.
He's like, oh, it looks just like the shot that took him out. So here's the question. Is the Red Gobbo ever gonna, like, succeed?
Well, no, but that's part of the fun, right? I think he's going to get, like, as many grots as he can, and that could be fun, like, later if there is, like, this little grot army, which would actually be awesome if we get, Gazkul Thraka to actually parlay with the Red Gobbo. Like, I would love to see Gazkul Thraka, because Gazkul Thraka actually really likes thinkers, and I could see him and the Gobbo really getting along.
I could see, if Makari especially got involved there, right?
Right.
You could see him being like, what? Which, I like the idea. It's one of those things though that I'm always like, it's really funny and I love the concept of it. And yeah, you're right. Like the head being shot out and he's like, oh, that's exactly what happened to Killiskin. It's really hard though when your people, they want a better life, but they don't necessarily agree on how to get there.
Well, they don't understand. All they know how to do is follow orders.
Right.
And there's that whole thing, there's that fear, because they talk about the fear. And one I actually loved that Denny Flowers did was showed the fear on the trader side and the fear on the grot side. There's that constant fear of not doing what you're supposed to do is so well done.
Yes, agreed. It was one of those things where there were a lot of parallels and you were like, nope, this all makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? For the grots, they have the mindless orcs who find violence funny, and that's just how they do. And then for the chaos guys, these are just cruel people, right? Like you're a commissar who's still acting like you're a part of the guard, but you're not part of the guard anymore. So you already had a little bit of a cruel streak running through you, and now.
And now you just don't have to, cite Imperial Code before you execute somebody, right?
Pretty much. pretty much. And he has like major hardcore delusions of grandeur. Just not a nice guy, right? So very orky.
Mm-hmm.
And all to try to appease a friggin' word bearer.
He doesn't care about him. The word bearer got what he wanted from him.
Oh, yeah, easily. He just like tallying up, right? I did like his delusions of grandeur though, like when he was talking about how he's like, I'll have my own war band and I'll go take over planets. It was like, who told you that? Because I don't think so.
Yeah, you're not going to do that without at least one dark apostle leading the charge, and you're cannon fodder.
Yeah, you're still going to be frontline, let's say. Yeah. Again, you backed the wrong team.
Mm-hmm.
You just backed the wrong team. I don't even know what else to say about them.
No.
Other than I know I said this before, but I really want to reiterate. I do hope that they keep doing this.
Oh, great! It's just it's fun. It's lighthearted. I like little fun books that they do like this.
I do too. And you wouldn't.
I mean, like the Caiaphas K novels. They're not lore breaking. They're just fun and they're great.
Very much so. And I think we read a lot of serious books this year.
Mm-hmm.
We read a lot of serious things, and this was just a nice little a change of pace, I thought. I think this is a fun way for the authors to like the Christmas story reference in here with you can't handle that, you'll pull your arm off. Like it gives them a little bit of creativity, it gives them a little bit of fun to step outside of the box, right? Of the standard, like, where are the Imperials? Where are the orcs? Nice little way to step outside the box while still also staying true to the Warhammer 40k lore.
Right.
Again, like what we're talking about with the Chaos people and with the grots, like there's still a rule and law and order to this universe. It's just a nice way to end the year. And a chance for us to wear our holiday sweaters.
Yeah. It's like the one time a year we wear them.
They're very, very thick and heavy.
Yeah.
If you need like a thick, warm sweater, this pupper is...
Yeah, this thing is like... So it's 13 outside. I just looked at it's 13 outside. I'm actually a little hot.
It's -7 here. But with the wind chill, it feels like -25.
Oh, I don't even know what the wind chill is. It's actually, I do, because we're watching the news earlier. So I think the wind chill tonight's supposed to get down to -4, but 7 a.m. is going to be the coldest point, and the wind chill is going to be -9. I live in Texas, y'all. It's not supposed to do this.
I can't complain too much. I live in Denver. This is how it's supposed to be.
As my dad would say, that's them Yankee weather.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and a whole other conversation on that. But having grown up in the mountains, like, I've gone soft. It's not my fault. I'm freezing. So while you're burning up, I actually feel pleasant. Usually when we do this podcast, though, we're both burning up in the sweater.
Oh, yeah.
And I even have a shirt on under the sweater. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, no, there is no shirt on underneath this, and I'm hot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a shirt, well, for these sweaters that I actually picked up at the Citadel, randomly, I happened to be there, saw the sweaters, took a picture for Jen. I was like, do you want me to get you one? She was like, you better have already got me one. And they weren't that expensive either.
No.
They were like really good quality sweaters.
It is actually a really, really nice. Usually I have very strong feelings on machine knitting, but the way that they did the color change, the color work and stuff, it's really good. So that's we have Gobbo and sweater.
So
I hope you can still buy these because they are really nice. And obviously the red one's the best one.
No. We just had a huge discussion in here about how the Chaos is worse than the Imperium.
But he's the Red Gobbo.
All right, fine. But I'm drinking red wine in my sanguineous chalice. I think you have a World Eater symbol on you somewhere, actually. Yeah, there you go.
Everybody knows I love my big, stupid rage man children. Not to be mistaken with my, I guess they're my rage boys, not to be mistaken with my petulant man children.
And now you have the Petulant Man children, and you have the stupid rage monsters.
Yes, the stupid rage monsters. I love them. I can't help it. But yeah, this is a good way to end the year. And coming up next is our book club awards.
Yes, and that's the official end of the year.
Well, yeah, because we're recording like
Next
3
week.
days before 2023.
Right. That doesn't
Do you wanna
sound
take us
right.
out, Carrie?
2023 doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't. So going through to give people a little bit behind the curtain here, going through our book club awards, like we always have a shared document that we go through and we look through. I was like, oh, the best book of 2021. And I have looked at this thing like 15 times and did not see a problem with it until all of a sudden today I was like, well, oh my God, it's 2022, or it was 2022. We're almost into 2023, which sounds weird.
Yes.
I'm not a fan.
However, we do have a book we're starting at the beginning of the year. So after the book awards, we do have a book that we're
Yes,
starting.
there will be a book.
Witchbringer.
Ooh, yes. So we will be starting on a serious note. I wasn't sure if we were going to mention that tonight.
Yep, Witchbringer.
With, Stephen B. Fisher's Witchbringer, Acadian sanctioned psyker.
God damn Cadians, I can't get away from this.
I am generally very fascinated with the sanctioned psychers, so I'm actually pretty excited about this one.
I'm actually curious about sanctioned psychers as well, just because I hate making this reference. Jen's gonna hate me for it, but the first time I really got to like see like a sanctioned psyker, like we talk about like the chains and everything, was the Severina Rain novel. So the first thing I actually thought of was Wheel of Time.
You're going there.
So,
It's fine.
but am I wrong?
No, you're not. Which is why I'm grumpy about it, I think. Yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, I was actually about to say that the last time we actually saw like a sanctioned psyker actually have like a real character development and arc was in Honorbound. So I'm actually really excited to see another one. I think, and I do like this. I like that they're leaning into the Astra Militarum to show us a little bit more. We had Steel Tread, we had Outgunned, we had Krieg, we had Catachan Devil. Now we have this one.
Volpone Glory.
Like this,
Volpone Glory.
Oh my God, Volpone Glory, which is such a good book. I like that they're leaning more into let's show how like the majority of humanity.
Krieg.
I said Krieg.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That one. But again, like just like let's show the famous units, right? But let's just kind of show people like this is what the average soldier, the people who are actually doing the majority of the work, right? Like there's always that meme that I like of all the soldiers holding up the wall that the Space Marines are standing on. Like, we conquered it. No. Afraid not, friends. I'm excited for that one. I think that'll be a really good note to start 2023 on, and we will, have our book club awards.
Always a good time.
Year, I don't know how we got to 2022 at the end of 2022 already.
I don't either.
My daughter will have driven me somewhere next week at some point, so pray for me.
No, she's still 7. That's not possible.
That's fair. She acts like it sometimes.
I think that's just called being a teenager.
Oh my God. Send help.
Send help. And I was about to say chocolate, but you don't like chocolate. So send help and coffee. That's what Jen likes.
That is my love language.
Yes, it is. So anyway, so you have listened to Warhammer 40k book club episode regarding Gobbo's Demise by Denny Flowers. So be sure to join us next time. Well, not next time, but the time after that for Witchbringer by Stephen B. Fisher, because next time will be the book club awards. And remember, we are an unofficial book club and not affiliated with the Black Library or any of its affiliates. You can find both the vidcast and podcast on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, give a review, and all those things to the vidcast on YouTube or the podcast on anywhere you get podcasts. Our site also has articles about adventures and reading other Warhammer 40k books and short stories outside of the book club books. So please stay a while and read from a crag. Now, even though I have you know what? Forget it. Cheers, y'all. Happy Sanguinala.
Kill, burn, maim. All right, butchered that coming out. That's harder to say out loud than I thought it was going to be.
Huh, butchered.
Hey! Slay those bells.
You're not right.
That
Something's not right with you.
They slew those bells, y'all. In the book. Happened.
That's true. That might have been my favorite part.
Yeah, that was pretty good. When the big one came down.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Cheers,
Good night,
y'all.
everybody.
Have a great Christmas.